Howdy folks, it's Dr. Z returning for VEDA 2014, Day 11. Still going on with storytelling about my times in pharmacy. Today I'm going to talk about perspectives and why that's important in pharmacy. And today I'm at SIUE on the Stratton Quad again, taking in the first day of spring. I know it's already passed, but even then, we've had a lot of cold days, we've had a lot of winter days, so it's great to just be out and about. Perspectives. Every single day in the pharmacy we meet someone new, we meet someone different. Sometimes we don't quite take the time to take a moment and see what their perspective is or see what their battles have been. That's why it's important in pharmacy, at least for pharmacist to patient, to take a moment and kind of walk in their shoes in order to provide the best care possible. One example was when I was in my hospital rotation. I was working with another student over in St. Louis at a major children's hospital. We were caring for multiple patients on a care team to make sure that their pharmacy benefits were maximized to the best of our ability. You know, we're still learning. It was our first rotation out of school, and we were taking a stab in the dark, and sometimes we were doing very well. Case in point, my student colleague got a new patient one day who was really sick. She was a poor little thing, and the parents were very worried, and the doctors were like, "Don't worry, we got this under control." And my student colleague had recommended that we take a look at this really abnormal value. It's nothing that we've ever seen before. The doctors were poo-pooing it. It's a one-time thing. It really doesn't mean that much. We just do it as a precaution. Well, if it's abnormal, doesn't that mean something? No, it's okay. We were new. We were kind of pushed off the side, and they didn't quite get what we were meaning, that it looks different. Shouldn't we investigate? Regardless, we kind of followed their lead and moved on to the next patient. Next day, she got even sicker, and the lab value became even higher. And it turned out that somehow the lab value was the ammonia level, and it was affecting her motor function, because ammonia, like you see in Windex, is very harmful to humans. We're not really able to produce it unless in extreme cases. The doctors that we were rounding with focus was more on her malnutrition, her other things, and they were saying, well, in this distressed state, she should be able to exhibit those things. But even then, we were saying that's a little abnormal. Later on, we found out that we couldn't do anything else to save her. And one day we're going through our rounds, we saw the parents on the floor, just kind of broken down. She passed over the last night. It's times like those where you wish you could go back in time. You wish that you could have pushed a little bit harder and not just kind of take your place. And on top of it, you wish, at least in perspectives, that the doctor would take your perspectives more seriously. And yeah, you may be a student, but you still have something to say. One more example. I was on a rotation in downtown St. Louis, and it was a community example of sorts, in which it was a facility that helped patients who have mental disorders and who were also homeless. That's one, at least, patient population that suburban pharmacy students really don't get exposed to that often. One, those with mental disorders, and two, those who are homeless. We got in, me and another pharmacy student, and we were kind of anxious. To be honest, we were anxious because it was downtown St. Louis. We were working with homeless, and we were also working with those with mental disorders. The three just didn't quite mix at the beginning. It was still something that we were excited about, but we were still anxious. That first week, we were driving around with our preceptor, and one day she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make this day. Can you go and help this patient out? Pick him up at his house." And we thought, what? Yeah, just go ahead and go pick him up. He's okay, just bring him to the facility, he'll get his treatment, and then you can take him home if you want, but he can also find another ride. Okay. I was dropped off, so I had to ride with my colleague. We're driving down there using Google Maps. Just, okay, so turn left here, turn right there. We're like, we have no idea where we're going. And then we get there, we pick him up, and I hate saying this, but he looked normal. And, he got out of his apartment and got in the car. "Thank you so much for picking me up. I really appreciate it." And I was like, "No problem. So we're going to go ahead and take you over to the facility." No. Actually, can you take me over to this place? That's not exactly what we were intended to do. No. I really want you to take me here. And then that fear kind of creeped back in. We were like, we don't want to deviate from what we were told, but at the same time, we don't want to just say no for fear of something bad happening. So we said fine. And we got deeper and deeper into North St. Louis, which is kind of the worst part of St. Louis. We're driving around, just kind of looking all over to make sure that we're in a safe area, and he was kind of directing us around. He was telling about his background as well, that he grew up in this area. He was wanting to meet with someone who helped take care of him whenever he was down. Apparently he just found a home. It wasn't that he was set there for a long time. He just got that apartment that we just picked him up from. And he wanted to thank the person that helped him out until he could find that apartment. And so we still relaxed, but we were still kind of watching out for these things. Then we finally found the home of this old woman that took care of him until he could find his own apartment. So then as he was leaving the car, he kind of came around and I was in the passenger seat. He gave me this key and he said, "Hey, you mind dropping this off at this motel that I used to be at? The owner's kind of a prick and I don't want to deal with him. I think you guys could do that." And then he just walked away. "Should we go?" My colleague said, "Why not? It's on the way. We'll do it." It's like, fine. We were feeling a little bit adventurous, so we went down to this really, really messed up motel. I mean, there were car tires and bumpers all over the place, and the doors some of them were ripped off. And so then we drove up to kind of like the manager of the place, just kind of handed him the key and said, "So and so told us to give this to you." He said, "So and so?" I said, "Yeah." "Really now? Why didn't he come tell me?" And he's going on, and I just kind of back up and I said, "I'm sorry. We're just working with him. Don't mean to cause any trouble." And then he got a little bit harder, louder and louder. It's like, "Dude, I'm sorry. Here's your key. The facility will be able to reimburse whatever he may have done, but otherwise, have a nice day." And I just walked off as he was continuing yelling. And then he came to the car and I said, "Drive, drive, drive." He drove off. And it's like, the perspective on that, through that rotation, we were able to get exposed to quite a few people with mental disorders, and those who were homeless, and those who were down on their luck, and able to see the different lives that they were able to live before they finally got a home, and before they were able to turn their lives around. And at that point, that patient that we just picked up, he was starting to turn his life around. And throughout that rotation, we kept meeting him day after day, and he was the best person we ever met at that facility. I still remember him. It's all about the different people you meet. We're able to share a glimpse into their life, how that can improve the way you practice. And I know at the first video I said, everyone's fighting their own battles, but if they're, lacking a sword, how are they going to win? Well, they win when you actually give them that sword. Tomorrow's going to be a shorter video. I'm going to talk about the first shift I ever had as a pharmacist. There were a lot of things that happened that day. Sometimes, at least as a pharmacy student, you wonder, how's that first day going to go out for you? At least I hope to share my perspective on that. Till then, this is Dr. Z signing out. You have a great day.